All right. So, I think everybody knows. I would be surprised if you don't know, but Crystal had a baby a week and a day ago. So, little Zoe is here. So whenever Zion was born, a lot of you guys know this, some of you don't. Whenever Zion was born, that labor was 25 hours, and that was really difficult. There was some type of anomaly there at the end where the contractions were like, maybe they were 4 minutes apart, like while Zion is being birthed, right? So I mean, like, this is like whenever the contractions are supposed to be really consistent and close together. Sometimes they'd be about 4 minutes apart. Sometimes they'd be 15 minutes apart. Sometimes they'd be 10. Sometimes they'd be 2. It was so irregular, and the midwife is just like, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't happen. He came with much effort. Which I know I'm a guy and I'm talking about giving birth and effort and all that. I get it. I know. But, after Zion, it's just like, man, are we going to do this however many more times? Because that was kind of crazy. That was really difficult. And then Zeal was born. And Zeal, that labor was very much so easier. Tracy and Georgia, remember us pulling into the drive and, oh, we're in labor, it's so exciting. Chris is like, oh, okay, hold on. And, oh, yeah, we're so excited. Okay, we're like, you guys need to go to the hospital. Oh, no, we're good. We're going to go labor on the couch a little bit. And, and then, we got to the birthing center right in time, and here comes Zeal. It was textbook, except for the fact that, a lot of you guys know this, whenever Zeal was born, he wasn't breathing. And I'm panicking. Now, with Zion, he was screaming instantly, okay? So that was what I was used to, and then now here's Zeal, and he's not breathing, and then I got to see the nurses and everybody, I got to see them panic, and then I felt the panic because I'm going off them, right? So they're starting to panic, and then they're getting some type of apparatus to put on him, and I instantly just started praying. And then he started breathing and crying, and it took me about, a couple weeks, couple months to really allow myself to attach to Zeal. Here comes Zoe. Easiest labor, which I know. I know. Comparatively, okay. Easiest labor that Crystal's had. Zoe came out. Now we had a water birth. We did the same thing with Zeal, but we had a water birth, and so that's supposed to make the transition a little bit smoother for baby. And we didn't have that with Zeal. That was an option, but it wasn't something that we did. But here comes Zoe, and she comes out, and she's not instantly crying. And I forgot that was kind of like the point of water birth, where it's not that shock. So I started. Like, this is just like Zeal, but then she made a little, and I was like, oh, okay, she's okay, and but that labor, that birth, I'm gonna use a millennial term here. She kept it 100. All right, you guys know? Anyone not know what that means? All right, if you look on your phones and you go to the emoji, you can go to the emoji and you can find a 100, right? And someone like, man, keep it 100. Anyone want to define that? Define it for us, Aaron. It was real. It was exactly like it was supposed to be. It was right. So, yeah, like a final, and you aced it. Like, everything's on the line, and you do. You can also be like, man, you're keeping it 100 with me. Like, you're being real. Like, this is the way it's supposed to be. So she kept it 100. It was good. Crystal did. Zoe did. Everything went exactly like it was. We had a professional birth photographer there. Same lady who did Crystal and mine's wedding. And she came and she did it for free because she's wanting to get into doing birth stories. So she's like, can I do it for free? And we're like, we know how expensive you are because we paid for you one time. Yes, you can do it for free. And so she did it for free, and she's had 3 kids her own, and she's just like, I can't believe this. I can't believe that was incredible. And I'm like, I know, that was incredible. It was incredible. She kept it 100. That's just the best way to put it. All right. So, what's her secret? Yeah, I know we got at least 2 pregnant ladies here. Yeah. I don't. I don't know. For you, it's your second. For you, it's your 10th. You know, so I don't know what. Oh man, 6. It's your 6th. Isaiah, right? Yeah, little Isaiah. All right, so we're going to look at our text this morning. Genesis 9. We're going to start in verse 1. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. For your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from man. From his fellow man I will require a reckoning for the life of man." I didn't get my tongue tied on that. That was good. All right. "Whoever sheds," but then when you draw attention to it, it just totally takes it away. So, "Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image. And you be fruitful and multiply and increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it." Okay. Now, 2 weeks ago, last week Antonio was here, and 2 weeks ago I preached. Last week Steve preached. Then that's right, yeah, I had a child in between there. So, Crystal had a child, sorry ladies. Crystal had a child in between there, all right? So 3 weeks ago, we talked about Noah coming off the ark, right? Noah and his family, and there's almost that command to leave the ark. And we talked about how intimidating that would be, how exciting that would be, and how intimidating that would be, because there's safety in the ark, and this is unknown, and there's not a lot out there. There's nothing out there. It just all got destroyed. All right, so we talked about that fear, and this is right after that. Right after that, we hear God communicate this blessing to Noah. And as you look at this, if you read it, does some of it kind of sound familiar? What does it make you think of? Whenever, as we read that, anything stand out? Like that kind of sounds like whenever Yahweh spoke to Adam and Eve. Thank you, Aaron. That's right. So let's look at this. We got Adam and Noah up here, all right? So we have, in both cases, dominion established, right? Adam, everything is yours. You're in control. This is your dominion. I want you to run it. Noah, this is your dominion. I want you to run it, all right? Then we have food given, right? You guys see that? In the garden, hey, everything that grows on the trees you can eat except for that one tree. And then here he is with Noah. Hey, you know what? You got plants, you got meat. I'm giving it to you. Here you go. Here's your food. And then we also have fertility. Can I get an amen? All right. Yeah, that's right. We're living that one today, aren't we, guys? Yeah. Woohoo. All right. So, fertility. Be fruitful and multiply. Right? So as you look at that, you see some comparisons. You see that there's some similarities there. However, whenever we really look at it, we also see some differences. For example, you can leave that up there. Dominion established. So the dominion that was established with Adam, he was given a peaceful dominion, right? Everything was as it should be. And a lot of people, I'm one of them, believe that it was Adam's job to expand the garden, right? To cultivate the world that was outside the garden, to expand that paradise, if you will, right? All right, so we have Adam's job is his dominion, but everything is going to work just like it's supposed to work, right? And it'll be work, but it'll be good work. You know, that frustration that you run into whenever your hammer breaks. So that's not going to happen, okay? Because this is going to go really well. All right. However, whenever we have the dominion established with Noah, here's Noah, and Yahweh says to Noah, "Hey, every animal is going to fear you. They're going to be afraid of you." Now, what does that imply? What's that? A hunter, yeah. Danger, strife. All right, because some animals, like a rabbit, whenever they fear you, what do? They run away. All right, even if they're cornered, they're still trying to run away. Some rabbits will actually die of a heart attack if you corner them. Okay, so they're not dangerous at all. You corner a bobcat, you corner a jaguar, you're in a raccoon. You're in trouble, okay? You're going to run into some conflict there because of the fear that the animal has for you. Now, again, I'm not taking away from Noah's dominion. Dominion is established. Yahweh makes it very clear you're going to be in control. They're going to fear you, but there's an implication there that things aren't right. Not quite like they were with Adam. Dominion established, but not like it was with Adam. And then we've got this food that's given. Now, Yahweh says very clearly, just as I've given you the plants, I also give you the meat, right? Now, I know some people in here are bothered by hunting, all right? However, if you've ever hunted and killed an animal and then done what needs to be done in order to eat that animal, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I remember the first time I went hunting and I learned what field dressing a deer was, and I questioned if I was going to do this again because that wasn't fun. I mean, that was a lot, all right, and it was nasty. And shut up, Ben. I'll go with you and you can do it next time. I was like 10, okay? I'm trying to hang out with you more to do just that, man. So there's a lot of work there, all right? Now you got Adam in the garden, and what does Adam do whenever he wants to eat? In the garden before the fall. Oh, I'm hungry. Now I'm not hungry anymore, right? You got Noah. I'm hungry. What do I need to do? Well, you got to plant some food. You got to pick the thorns that are around it. You got to cultivate it. You got to make sure it bears fruit, and then you can eat it. Or if you want to eat meat, you've got to go find the animal. You've got to kill it. Remember, it's afraid of you. All right, so there might be a little bit of conflict there. You've got to overcome it. You've got to kill it. Then you've got to field dress it. Then you've got to skin it. Then you've got to cook it, and you got to make sure all the blood's out of it. Then you can eat it. Adam and Eve, no effort. So again, even with this blessing of food, we see that something still isn't quite right. Fertility. Now we already know that one, right? Because that happened with the curse in Genesis 3. You'll be pain in childbearing, and I'm not going to go too far with that one, okay? Just with everything in the room. But we know. But we know that. However, next slide. What this is telling us is that even though the world has been cleansed, the world is still fallen. Blood's taken place. The cleanse has happened. But things aren't restored to what they once were. That's not happened. The world is still fallen. Noah, his sons, Noah's wife, his sons' wives, they're getting off the ark and they're stepping into a world that is cleansed but is still fallen. And we don't see the reality of this any more clearly, I think, in what we do whenever we look at what Yahweh says to Noah about blood. And this kind of ties in with the fertility. If I'm listening to Yahweh, okay, and again, this is where it's really beneficial. You'll hear me say this a lot because I really want you guys to be practicing this. To put yourself in the text and just use your imagination, the God-given imagination that He's given you, and just picture, I'm in the text, I'm Noah, I'm hearing these things from Yahweh, I'm looking out this door, there's mud everywhere, okay, and I just made this sacrifice, and I hear Yahweh tell this to me. I just went through this experience, and I hear Yahweh tell me that if a man kills somebody, then he'll be killed by man. If a man kills a man, then he'll be killed by man. Okay, now I'm thinking about that. Okay, there's me, my 3 boys. I'm thinking, we just went through something incredible together. Why are we going to want to kill each other? I mean, that's the one command. If I'm listening to that, I'm like, didn't you just do what you just did because people were killing each other, because the world was a vile place, and here you are putting this stipulation in with me and my boys? Like, we're going to do something crazy? I know they're going to have kids, right? They've got wives, they're going to have kids, but you think I'm going to want to do something to my grandkids? We're going to do better. We're going to do better here, okay? We're going to do better. And I think about that in my boys, and I love watching my boys play. Crystal sent a video the other day. I like wrestling with them. We have a rule in place that you can surprise and sneak attack Dad. You can hit him. You can hit him with an object even, all right? Because right now they're not strong enough to really do too much damage. Zeal's even learned, he'll come up to me and he'll go, eyes eyes, and he'll reach for my glasses to take my glasses off because he's picked up whenever things get rough, I take my glasses off. So before he even gets in and going, he'll go eyes, and he'll reach and take my glasses off so that he can wrestle with me. All right, it's wonderful. I love it. And I also love the warning. Zion's not so good at that. Zion will wallop me in the back with something. I encourage it though, okay? It's good. And he knows you can't do that with mom. You can't do that with baby sister, all right? They both do a really good job of respecting those boundaries. But they're starting to get where they wrestle each other. And it's awesome. Crystal, I wasn't at the house. It was one of like the 2 days this week I was able to get out of the house. I'm out of the house and Crystal sends this video. All right, I'm doing work and she sends this video and the boys are lined up on the couch and they're on two ends and they would run towards each other like human jousting without the horses, and they would just run into each other. Now, Zion's a lot bigger, so he would always end up on top of Zeal, and Zeal, they would both just laugh, and it warmed my heart, okay? And as I sit there and I watch that video, I think there's no way they're ever going to fight. And then 3 hours later, what once was fun, now is not fun anymore. Gets a little too far. Zion I tried teaching Zion, I tried telling him whenever Zeal was little. Zeal was a lot bigger than Zion was whenever Zion was his age. And I would try to tell Zion, Zeal's a lot bigger than you are. Zeal will be bigger than you are. And Zion would never be mean, but he's just very heavy-handed, right? And he wouldn't do a good job of listening to baby brother's sounds, right? We say, listen to his sounds. Does he sound happy? Well, as soon as baby brother got old enough to start hitting, that started happening. And I told Zion, it's going to start happening. He's going to start fighting back. All right? And sure enough, he did. And Zion's also, during conflict resolution, Zion wants to hug. Zion will come up to hug Zeal. Zeal will stiff arm him. And Zeal's strong enough to successfully stiff arm him. And what does that do? That just frustrates Zion more. So I see this in my own family. I see, there's those moments of, this isn't going to happen. They're not going to fight. This isn't going to get that. They're going to love each other forever, all right? And then that ends, all right? And then they sleep in the same room together, and I have no idea what happens in there sometimes. You hear some things, it's like, are they playing? Are they fighting? I don't know. But so long as you hear both of them, you're good. So, the world's still fallen. And we see that very clearly here in this command that Yahweh is giving, where there's almost the assumption that things are going to return to what they once were before the flood. And if I'm Noah, I'm going to be really thrown off by that. But here it is anyway. The world that Noah is stepping into is still a fallen, sinful world. Next slide. Going to pick up where we left off in verse 8. It says, Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you. As many as came out of the ark, it is for every beast of the earth. That's pretty redundant, isn't it? I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. We're going to stop there. I've heard this, and I've said this, and I want to be very clear that I'm not saying that this is wrong, okay? I'm not saying that this is wrong. Everybody say, Kingston's not saying that this is wrong.
Kingston is not saying that this is wrong.
Right, okay. What I'm not saying is wrong is that here's what we say. Here's what I've said, here's what probably you've said, here's what maybe you've heard somebody else say. What you've heard said is, oh yeah, God's not going to destroy the world with water, but He's going to do it with fire, right? Anyone ever hear that? Am I the only one? You've heard it?
You're hanging out with, but
Yeah. Well, I've heard it, okay? I've heard it, I've said it. It's like, yeah, okay, so he's not going to destroy it with water, but he's going to destroy it with fire. Now, not saying that's not true. But I think we need to be careful whenever we compare the destruction of the flood and that judgment with the judgment that is still yet to come. I think we need to be a little careful comparing the two. And here's why. I'm gonna show a verse from a slide from Genesis 8. This is just a couple verses previous to where we started. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, this is what the aroma of the sacrifice that Noah made. The Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done. Now, you could look into that a lot and you could say, well, yeah, as I have done, that means like with the flood. Like, I'm not going to do it as I've done with water, but I'm going to do it with fire. But that's not what he's saying. That's not what's being said here. The flood was cleansing. The fire will be cleansing. However, there are some significant differences between what the flood did and what the fire is going to do. This is the point that I really want to drive home, and it's going to be, maybe it'll conflict with your soul a little bit, with your heart. I don't know if it will, because it took a while for me to wrestle with it. Not in preparing for this sermon, but a couple of years ago, just took me a while because it's so countercultural, not cultural, so counterintuitive to what we've been taught sometimes. But here's the point. You can put it up there, Josh. Yahweh will make this world our home. This world is going to be our home. There's a song, I'm just a passing through, if heaven's not my home, Lord, what will I do? Right? What is it? Yeah. I don't know, man. You guys know what song I'm talking about, right? I remember being at Winter Jam, all right, and I remember listening to Building 429. All I know is I'm not home yet. You guys know that song? Yeah. This is not where I was like, oh, this is my jam. I love it. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm like, I wasn't even raising my hands for worship songs back then. I still don't do it because I got the long hair, and you guys probably think I'm hippie enough. But whenever I'm not with you guys, I raise my hands in worship. All right, so whenever I'm just starting to do that. I'm like raising my hands, I'm into this with my short hair and everything. But as I think about it, and as I look at what the Bible teaches, I don't think it's quite right. Next slide. I'm going to show you guys a passage in Revelation. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw a holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. You guys see that? What does it not say? The dwelling place of man is with God. It says the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. What Yahweh did with the flood is he destroyed the world. And then he commissioned 4 men and their wives to rebuild it. Still fallen, still struggling, blessed by him. He's going to establish it. His hand is over all of it. But he destroyed the world and left fallen man to rebuild it. And what did fallen man rebuild it into? Another fallen world. Here we are, part of it. That's what the flood did. The next judgment that comes isn't going to be like that. The next judgment that comes, Yahweh is going to restore earth. He's going to restore heaven and earth. He's going to make it new. And if you remember 3 weeks ago, man, I thought it was 2 weeks ago, but if you remember 3 weeks ago, if you can remember that far back to something that a preacher said, I know I'm asking for a miracle. Whenever we talked about kind of the mindset that we have of wanting to stay in our ark because the world is too fallen, it's too dangerous and it's too unknown, and this is what we know, and maybe even seeing our congregation and our church as the ark and wanting to keep things safe here and not really wanting to reach out there. This mindset of this is not my home really feeds into that. This mindset that I'm just here for a little bit and then I'm going to go to some place where I won't have to deal with these people anymore. We might be surprised who's in heaven, who we thought we didn't have to deal with, but it'll be okay because we'll be, made perfect and glorified, and we'll realize how stupid we were. But this idea that this is not my home, I'm just passing through. All I know is I'm not home yet. This isn't where I belong. This is where God has us. If it's not where we belong, why are we here? If we really adopt this mindset that I don't belong here, this isn't for me, then God doesn't know what He's doing. Because here we are. There you sit, here I stand, we're a church, here we are. And this is our home. I thought, what? Because you may be, I don't know how this is sitting with you, I don't know. Because I remember whenever I first heard this, it was years ago, I thought, you're wrong, you're just dead wrong, because you're not going to hate on my hymn, and you're definitely not going to hate on Building 429. Like, that's just ridiculous, all right? But then as I read my scriptures and as I studied it, it took quite a while for it to settle with me. So I don't know how you're doing, maybe you're tracking, maybe you're not. But some things that you may be thinking, because I thought them were, well, yeah, aren't we supposed to be in the world but not of it? And aren't we just sojourners? Aren't we aliens? Obviously, like, we're not supposed to just, okay. So let's say you have 10 kids, which you don't. But let's say you got 10 kids, all right? 10 kids are at a home, all right? You got different age varieties, all right? Parents leave, all right? Because the older kids are old enough to kind of keep a handle on things. Now, parents leave, we'll say even for a couple days. Parents are gone. And 9 of the kids are just destroying things. I mean, running a ruck, just messing everything up. Making a mess in every corner of the house, making a mess in every open place in the house. I mean, it's just terrible. But you got one kid. You got one kid, one of the older ones, who's saying, guys, stop doing this. This isn't what we're supposed to be doing. This isn't right. And going behind and trying to clean up the messes. And going behind and trying to say, I'm going to try to set a good example for you guys. Oh, you better wait till mom comes home. Oh, you better wait till dad comes home. Now, whenever mom and dad come home, what are they going to say to that kid? They're going to say, hey, you know what? You were in this house, but you were not a part of what was going on here. Thank you. You know what I bet that kid would say at some point? I swear I'm adopted. I'm not like any of you. I'm an alien here. I'm like a sojourner. But you know what that kid would never say? This isn't my home. You know what that kid would never say? This isn't where I belong. They would say, this is my home. And that's why I'm going to work. That's why I'm going to try to clean up as much of this mess as I can. And this is why I'm going to plead to you to clean up. Because mom and dad are coming. And I want them to come home to a clean house. And I don't want you to get whooped whenever they do. I love them. I love you. And I love my home. This is our home. You know, it's really cool, this covenant that Yahweh establishes here. He says that I'm gonna put my bow in the sky, right? Now, I've always read that and I always thought, oh, like a bow, like a gift. And I always thought it was really girly, like a bow. But the word that's actually used there is a word that's used for, bow and arrow. So it's almost like, I don't know if you guys watch The Immortal Iron Fist or not. I don't know if that's a thing for, one of my least favorite series. Crystal and I just try to keep up with it so that we know what's going on with the other ones, but there's a character in there, right? And in other seasons, this character, I'm going to try to not even show you the gender, because this character was involved in some vigilante things, right? And this character now has decided that that's not the thing for them anymore. So you know what they did? They took their weapon and they hung it up on the wall. And that was a sign, I'm done. And all throughout the show, that character is being pleaded, come on, you gotta participate, you've got to do this, and this character feels like they're being drawn back into it, but they're like, no, I hung that up. I hung it up. I'm done with it. And that's almost how I picture Yahweh here, hanging up his bow so that everybody can see. Because if it's hung up in the clouds, you know where it's not? Draw it back in his hand. And after this, what happens? Spoiler alert, no, Abraham. And what's the blessing that's given there? You're going to become a blessing to every nation. Then we have the Exodus, and we have Israel. We have another, the covenant that's communicated, it's the same covenant that's expanded. And what's communicated is, you're going to be a blessing to the world. Abraham, your seed's going to be a blessing to the world. Israel, you're going to be a blessing to the world. Jesus, you're going to die for the world. Christian, you're going to be a blessing to the world. So we see that this is our home, and that the judgment that is coming is different than the judgment that came with the flood, because what is not going to happen is the world is not going to be destroyed and left in a mess and us commissioned to rebuild it. What's going to happen is Yahweh, Jesus, is going to come back and he's going to restore things back to the way they should be. Perfect. You'll be there, I'll be there, it'll be awesome. It'll be beautiful. We'll go back to that time whenever we'll have righteous work to do, but everything will go just like it's supposed to. No strife in relationships. It'll be beautiful. But in the meantime, here we are. This is our home. Whenever Jesus came, Matthew 5 or Matthew 4, Matthew 10, the message that Jesus himself preached and the message that he gave his disciples to preach is what? The kingdom of heaven is here. It's at hand. Not the kingdom of heaven is some, ethereal place where orbs float around and no, it's here. Because Jesus was here, because Jesus was establishing his kingdom here. And we've been commissioned, Matthew 28, to continue that establishment here. And he's going to come and he's going to make it perfect. And there'll be a cleansing fire. But it's not going to be like it was. Next slide. Genesis 9, God said to Noah, this is the last verse we're going to look at. God said to Noah, this is a sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. I just want to make something really, really clear here, is that who established the covenant? Yahweh. Next slide. We don't have a contract with Yahweh. That's not the relationship that we have with him. And I think that's how a lot of us view this relationship. We have a contract with Yahweh. We break it, he's upset. Whenever we fulfill it, he's happy. God, I've been a pretty good person. How come you've not given me this yet? Or whenever something bad happens, what do? Where did I go wrong? What did I do? What? Because we see ourselves in a contract relationship with Yahweh. And that's just not how it works. That's just not what he's given us. What he's given us, next slide, is a covenant with him. In a contract, there's 50-50. You uphold your end, and I'll uphold my end. But me upholding my end is contingent upon you upholding your end. That's a contract. That's how contracts work. I know because we went through about 1 million contracts trying to find a house. All right? And some of them fell through because things weren't upheld. And so we had the option to say, yeah, if that makes a contract null and void, we don't want to write up a new one, because that's what would have to happen. Whenever one contract becomes null and void, either side of the party, if either side of the party fails to uphold their end, then the contract is gone. and you have a decision. Do we want to write a new contract? Nope. Yep. It's up to you in that moment. But one side breaks it, it's done. A covenant, on the other hand, is not 50-50. It's 100. All the way. 100. So whenever Yahweh says, I'm going to establish a covenant with you, He's not telling you, you better keep up your end of the bargain. What He's telling you is what He's going to do. And that's the relationship that we have with Him. Next slide. Yahweh establishes and maintains the covenant. Not you, not me, Him. He establishes and maintains. The stress and the concern and the effort to keep our relationship with Yahweh what it should be is not on us. Not even 50% of it. Not even 10% of it. 0% of it is on us because Yahweh has said, not I want to write a contract with you. He said, I'm establishing a covenant with you. And regardless of what you do, I will uphold my end of the bargain. Now, Israel was put into exile. I don't deny that. But that was a part of Yahweh's covenant. Here we are in a new covenant. And that covenant is if you're washed by the blood of Jesus Christ, and your faith is in Him, you're in the kingdom. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's what He's established with us. Now, if Noah stepped out of the ark, made the sacrifice, and is still in a fallen world, and that world is still fallen all the way up to this very day, and if we understand that the world is fallen, but it is still our home, that Yahweh is going to make it our home, and that Yahweh operates in His relationship with us where He gives 100% to us and loves us, and where our performance doesn't weigh in on how much He loves us, if that's what's going on here, then let's look at our relationships with the world. Let's look at our relationship with the community, because I don't know, I won't speak for you, but for me, you know what I find myself doing an awful lot of? For me, I find myself all the time, I find myself making imaginary contracts with people. The second that you disappoint me, I'm going to see you different. And I'm going to have to make the decision if I want to write a new contract with you. And you know what you better do in order to make me want to make that decision? You better shape up. I mean, look at the political climate. That's how our world operates. We look at how many churches operate. There's a contract. It's a contractual relationship. You do something to upset me, I may or may not tell you about it, but you don't, we're done relationally. And there's comfort in that because in a contract, the commitment is even. But in a covenant, something that Yahweh does with us, that Jesus does with us, and something that I'm going to go ahead and propose that if we really want to make this world our home and we really want to be radical and we really want to show the world how much we love Jesus and we start doing it with other people, is we start giving them 100%. Oh, you think differently than I do? I'm going to give you 100% of me. Oh, you've hurt me? I'm going to love you with everything that I have. Now, what I'm not saying is that we open ourselves up to be a doormat. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a line there. If you tell yourself, this person abused me in a very severe way, and therefore I will not allow myself to have a relationship with them, and I'm just preventing myself from being a doormat, and I don't know how to give them 100% an answer question to maybe ask is, are we praying for them? Are we praying for that relationship to be restored? And if it's so bad that it can't, are we praying for at least a relationship with Yahweh to be restored? Because sometimes what I think we do is we go back to that contract mind and we say, I've written a contract, an imaginary contract, they broke it, and I'm not going to be a doormat, so I'm done with that. And we kind of just erase them from our mind. But then we see it again, not to bring up the political climate too much, but we see this in our world. If I lean on the right and somebody leans on the left, I'm not going to give them 100% of who I am. They've already broken the contract and I already don't trust them. And vice versa. Someone in our family, our spouse, our kids, our parents. Strife there. And we demand that they shape up before we offer them the forgiveness. I'm so grateful that Jesus didn't do that. So if we really want to make this world our home, and whether you want it or not, it is being made into our home, and it will be made into our home. And we've been commissioned here now to share Jesus with the world. The best way we can do that, next slide, by keeping it 100. That's the emoji. If you go on your phone, you'll find that. Look. Yeah, it's there. We should keep it 100. We should look for ways to love people more. We should pray that Father reveal to us ways in which we could love people more. Specific people. People in general. That should be our prayer. How can I love them more? Not shape them up so that I can love them more. How can I love them more where they are, as they are, given what's happened, given the situation? How can I love them more? That should be our prayer. Continually giving 100%. Because whenever we're giving 100% of ourselves to others, what did Jesus say? As you've done unto others, as you've done to the least of these, you've done unto me. So the world is still fallen. It is our home. Let's take ownership. And let's give 100% of ourselves in our relationships. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you so much. I thank you so much for Jesus, who gave 100% of himself, who gave all of himself, who gave everything. Lord, again, just the act of him coming down to earth was such a tremendous act of grace, leaving the throne room of heaven to come to a fallen world. Thank you for that alone. Lord, that alone is incredible. But then Jesus died, and he rose, and he conquered sin and death for every single one of us, and he loved us 100% with all that he had, where we are. Though we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And Lord, we live in a world that is fallen. We are fallen, but you have restored us. You have redeemed us by loving us 100%. And may we look at the fallen world that is around us, and may we not loathe it. May we not be afraid of it. May we not distance ourselves from it. May we be in it. And may we love them with 100% of who we are. Father, I pray that you reveal to every single one of us ways in which we can love people more, ways in which we can share more of ourselves with them, ways in which we can share more of you with them, ways in which we can love you by loving them. May we be Jesus May we show others who you are. We thank you, we love you, we praise you. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.